Welcome to In the Zone. I'm Craig Zimmerman, and we are here with number 93 of In the Zone. And next, sitting across from me here is Mr. Alec Duffiney. Welcome, Alec.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
So Alec comes to us via St. Clair Baseball, and we'll come back to that in a little while. And I always find it interesting to meet individuals like yourself. Sometimes you have a preconceived notion that, oh, you were born up and down the street here and you went to school here, and that's not the case with you. You were born and raised where?
Yeah, so I was born and raised in Chesterfield, 24 Gratiot area. Went to L'Anse Creuse North High School. But I did have a lot of family out here, so very well, pretty knowledgeable about the city and the town. My cousins played here. They all went here, so St. Clair's been a big part of our family's life for a while.
Same last name or cousins with a different name?
Different name.
What was the last name?
Lemoyne's.
Okay.
And then, Duffiney's, but that's the same name, but they were a little older. So.
Okay. So you went to school in Chesterfield.
Yep.
Give me a little background. Mother, father, siblings.
Yep. So I got mom and dad. They both started working at the same job out of high school. So my dad's works at Waste Management, and my mom works at a company called Stalls, which I previously was working for a while. So they've been there forever. I have an older brother. He is just starting his career in the electrician world. He was a regional manager for some big restaurants and decided to switch it up, have a little career change. And then I got a younger sister. She is a ER nurse at Troy Beaumont.
Just like any other American family,
Right.
Everybody goes in a little different spot, but makes their way.
Yeah, we got some professional fields covered, that's for sure.
Okay. So you go to high school at L'Anse Creuse North. What middle school or grade school was it there?
So I started at Chesterfield Elementary, and then they built Carcanor, which was a 5-minute walk from my house, so I had to go there.
No busing?
No busing. A lot of the time we just walked, me and my brother, and then when I got old enough, me and a couple buddies on the street. And then, so from Carcanor, I went to Middle School East, again, just right up the road. And then, obviously, Middle School East, Middle School North feed into L'Anse Creuse North. So that's where it kind of fed into.
Okay. And so you played sports in high school, I'm assuming?
Yeah.
Okay.
I played, middle school started kind of the football, basketball thing. Played baseball my entire life since I was like 3 or 4, I think I started. But yeah, I played football, basketball in 7th, 8th grade, because that's when you're allowed to, and then played football, basketball, and baseball throughout my high school career. So.
Okay. Now, in a career as typical fashion with those 3 sports, you don't always have success, wins and losses,
Right.
and I'm not knowing what you did, but
Right.
I'm guessing there were some seasons that you had great success and some seasons not so great success.
Yeah. Football is probably going to stick out the most. We struggled my first 3 years. I was lucky enough to play varsity as a sophomore, which is a bigger deal back then. I think we went 0-18 my sophomore and junior year. Sophomore year, just kind of getting the ropes and didn't start that much, but played. And then junior year, played a lot. And then senior year, we got lucky, got some new coaches in, turned it around. I think we went 8-3 my senior year.
Okay.
Went to the playoffs and everything. So. But we didn't really have that problem in basketball and baseball. Basketball, we went to the state finals, Final Four my junior year. And then baseball, I think my group was probably the most winningest team that came through North.
Okay.
Single season and as far as like a career-wise as while I was there. A lot of success on that side. So.
And for some people that don't know L'Anse Creuse from L'Anse Creuse North,
Yeah.
I know where it's at. It's 21 mile
Mm-hmm.
just east of North Avenue.
Yep, correct.
And you really don't even know the school's there almost if you don't see the
It's tucked
sign,
away.
because there's houses in front of it,
Mhm.
and it looks to me like the right of way is about 80 feet wide into
Exactly.
the school, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, nice football field.
Yeah.
Big
Well, now.
school. Yeah, okay, there you go. So you play those 3 sports. What happens after high school?
So then, I had an up and down high school career with things. I was kind of stubborn and wanted to play football and baseball in college. I didn't really want to give up one at the time, and I also didn't know any better. I probably would have made some smarter business decisions knowing what I know now. But yeah, so I it was big for me to find a school that was okay with letting me play both. So I went to Adrian College. Ended up they were okay with me doing both. I made sure of it, and so I kind of started off. Actually only played about 2 years of baseball, and then I strictly went to football.
What position in football?
Quarterback.
Okay.
Yep. It was a couple of pounds ago, but
Okay. Okay.
yeah. So played under Coach Rainey for baseball there. He's very successful, probably one of the highest D3 winningest coaches. And then, football was a little hodgepodge. I think I had 3 quarterback coaches and 3 offensive coordinators in like the 3-year term.
Right.
It was a lot of turnover, a lot of stuff to catch up on. And then I just decided at that point it was time to finish out school, because technically at that point I was just under half a semester behind. So I took 19 and 20 credits my senior year, back to back, so I could finish at 4. So that didn't call for sports at that point. So
you knew the NFL or the MLB wasn't calling.
Yeah, I don't think I got blessed. I mean, at that time, you just never know, right? Like you think if you draw some interest from somebody,
Sure.
it doesn't have to be necessarily the biggest leagues or some league. But yeah, I just figured at that point, it's time to go on to the next step. I think sports kind of ran its course with me. So
What kind of degree?
it's a BA, it's a business administration, emphasizing sports.
Okay.
So sports management, technically.
Let's back up to the mindset of an 18-year-old coming from a medium-sized high school, going to college, where as I'll say as a layman not knowing, it's now sort of the big boy thing where it's everybody's good, right?
Right.
So
No,
tell
for
me as
sure.
an 18-year-old how that is from a mental perspective.
Yeah, it's a different world. No matter what college you go to, I think it's when you get down and break the numbers down, I think 1% going to play college, whatever, something like that. And then you get there, everyone's bigger, faster, stronger. Right. So it takes a little bit of time to kind of catch up to it, and kind of changes your work ethic. Because I didn't have the greatest work ethic coming out of high school. Played 3 sports, never had an off season. Was just games to games to games to summer ball to games. It was a good eye awakener for me, but I felt like I grasped it pretty good. And I'm uber competitive, so like when something like that kind of arises,
You knew you had to raise your game.
Yeah, and I like that part, and that I feel like kind of pushes you up against the wall, and it's either fight or flight. So, it was.
Now,
it was
did
a
you
good
play
test.
quarterback in college?
Yeah.
So how many quarterbacks on the team, depth chart?
Oh, yeah, a lot.
Roughly 4?
No, more.
Okay.
I think when I came in my freshman year, I was 9.
Wow.
Yeah. And injuries happen, stuff happens. I think I was like 8 on the depth chart when I started, which kind of, rose it a little bit. But, you got to stick out, and you're not always getting the most reps or anything like that. So you got to do things that are special to get noticed. So.
And so from that level, is it more or less the physical attributes or the studying attributes of defenses, or what do you think as an 18, 19-year-old? Probably a combination of both.
Combination of both. For whatever reason, I'm not sure why, we had a ton of D1 talent there. Mm-hmm. Kids from Florida, kids from local. It really raised your game, and these guys were big, fast. I mean, they were huge. They were smart. They've been there for a couple of years, outside of the incoming freshmen. They know a lot more about the game than you think you know.
Sure.
And I was a late bloomer as far as the study side of the game, because there's so much that goes into football coverages, especially in my position. Got to know everybody's stuff. I was a late bloomer on that side as far as knowing everything I needed to be. So when I got to college, that was one thing that it was forced upon, that I needed to kind of hit the books and make sure I know exactly what I'm doing.
So as you rose through it and spent the time on it, where did you end up, say, your senior year?
So I kind of rose up. Like I said, it was tough with 3 coordinators, 3 different quarterback coaches.
So you're changing every year.
So you're trying to get, and they all want something different.
Right.
So the first guy compared to the second guy, the second guy was a lot more kind of like he was looking for, a guy like me, kind of a bigger arm, bigger dude, who could maybe throw it around a little bit. And the third guy wanted a little more faster guy.
Sure.
I didn't have the wheels, so it was hard. That's when I kind of came to Fats with it, that I was just, maybe time to, once I realized that I needed 40 credits to finish school, I'm like, it's just a lot.
Were you on scholarship?
Yeah, D3 doesn't really technically
Okay.
give you athletic, but they give you grants.
Okay.
So grants were a part of athletic grants or people that were donors of the program. So it was a part of it, yeah.
Okay. Okay. So you do that. Now, that's got to be extra tough. Like you say, you go in and you know what's going on, you know the drill, you know how it's structured, and then all of a sudden, the next probably spring football, new coach turns around. Now you almost have to read what it is that they're looking for, right?
Yeah. I think I had, at the end of my sophomore year, I had a couple starts. Me and the offensive coordinator and the quarterback coach got along really good, and I think it was kind of setting up for something big my junior year. He left, new guy, switched over.
Right.
I wasn't the kind of guy he was looking for. Tough pill to swallow at that point, but like I said, it's, the amount of connections and everything that come with sports and
Sure.
everything that was involved in it, I couldn't pass it up. So
Do you think some of that example of people say what doesn't kill you makes you stronger? Do you
for
feel
sure.
like that's true?
100%.
Okay.
There's been plenty of situations. It's kind of like I said, fight or flight. Sports have definitely molded me into the man I am today, for sure. Even the simple task of being on time. I've never
Right.
been late a day at work. Someone tells me to be there at 1 o'clock. I'm there at 12:30.
Right.
So yeah, no, a lot of that stuff. And adversity and all that, it's all good for the rest of your life. It might seem like the end of the world, which it did for
Right.
me at 19, 20 years old. It was a tough pill to swallow, but looking back on it, it was probably for the best for me.
Okay. So then you graduate from Adrian.
Yep.
Tell me about after FF.
Yep. So Adrian, like I said, got done in 4 years, which I was super happy with.
Yeah.
I was basically set up to be there for 5. So
It's difficult to graduate in 4 years. Yeah.
Very. And when you don't know it coming in as a freshman, you're already behind the 8 ball, which
Right.
I was. But yeah, so graduated early May of 2017, and then came into, actually my mom that worked with stalls I wanted to work in that world. I had a sports management degree, wanted to do something with Nike, like something
Sure.
cool, right?
Yep.
I don't know any better. I'm 21
Right.
at this point. Hey mom, take my resume and see what you can find out for me. So she took my resume, gave it to the HR. A couple people at the work, like, hey, if talk to the league, Nike, anyone, see if they're hiring, blah blah blah. They called me the next day and said, you could come. We want to send you some stuff. You could come work for us, possibly. I'm like, I got some student loans, so let me check into this. So I got a couple tests. I took them. They were pretty happy with how the test scores were, and they're like, yeah, like if you want to start working for us, you can start. And so I started there a month out of college.
Okay.
So I really didn't have much time to even think about it. I had been applying and done some different stuff, but nothing that felt good. Obviously, I trusted the company. My mom's been there for 40 plus years, so she was obviously uber happy about it and couldn't wait to show her boy off
Right,
to everybody
exactly.
at work. And then, my first day I walk in, everybody's like, "Oh, I knew you when you were in your mom's tummy."
Right,
Yeah,
you're a little guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So, started working there, customer service sales. Kind of got bumped up to an account manager, kind of higher end of sales, and did that for the last 5 years. And then, like I said, recently kind of made a career switch over to a restoration reconstruction company, just to change of pace and something that fits me better for the time being. Yeah.
Let's back up and talk about stalls. And I find stalls interesting because I know who stalls is, I know where stalls is, I know what they do. But I would say most people don't know stalls
Yeah.
as far as what they do. Now, I know it from the standpoint that they sell equipment and I'll call it, is it applique? Is that the correct wording?
That's part of it. Yeah.
Sports jerseys of all sorts. Obviously, as of late, they're known for being at the NFL draft
Yep.
because they put all the names on the back, all the numbers.
Yep.
Explain that a little bit.
Yeah, so it's like you said, every time I tell people where I work, stalls like, oh, like the chainsaw.
Yeah, they're-
Oh, the chainsaw.
That's steel. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So they always get confused. But yeah, no, it was. It's basically on the commercial side, we feed pretty much businesses like equipment, stuff like this,
Yeah.
putting on garments, T-shirts, jerseys, all that good stuff. We did get a lot of coverage with the draft being in Detroit last year, so I actually have done 3 or 4 of them, including last year, which was very cool. Bumping elbows with, Big Sean and
Right.
Eminem. I'm in the backstage in our room, so we're actually, like I said, I'm actually the one.
Making him a jersey.
Right, so, Big Sean comes in, I got a video on my phone, he wants a jersey made, we got his name cut, so we go ahead and make him a jersey. But same thing, we're sitting there with the guys from the league office. When they make that pick, we're the first ones to know.
Right.
They tell us, we make the jersey real quick, and there's actually 2. One goes to the commissioner, one
Yep.
goes to the trading card company for their rookie jersey. Gets cut up and put in their card. But yeah, just a lot of cool opportunities like that I had with my time with them. Yeah, a lot of commercial edge, pretty cool stuff.
Now, besides the major league type of work,
Yep.
what they're selling to mom and pop places
exactly.
that do the same thing, right?
Yep, so they got commercial, which is obviously, I've been inside of tons and tons of, Madison Square Garden, anybody's arena. But then at the same time, we're also doing mom and pop up the, Joe Schmo's embroidery
Sure.
and screen print up the street.
Yep.
At the same time, they might have our equipment or use us for some different stuff. So, yeah, a little bit of both sides on that.
And I know that it's an old company and it's probably 3rd or 4th generation, so it's been around a long, long time.
Yeah, I believe they're over the 90-year mark. Yeah, they started right there in St. Clair Shores. We haven't left, or they haven't left. They've been in the 8 Mile Stevens area forever, on a big part of the street now.
Yep.
And they're also out here in Chesterfield, and another part of St. Clair Shores as well. They got a couple of buildings,
So, and they're worldwide in the sense that they ship worldwide.
Yeah, they actually have some. They've been working real hard on the international part.
Sure.
So they have, I believe it's 3 or 4 overseas now.
Which means that it's probably huge into soccer.
Yeah.
I mean,
And that's one part that's really big over there is obviously soccer and soccer jerseys, and everybody wants one, and
Right.
so they're great fans over there. So it seems to be good for them.
Okay. So then you fast forward and you make a little bit of a switch.
Yep.
Are you selling for this company or what are you doing?
Yeah, so I'm in business sales, business development sales, and it's funny because the guy who actually kind of introduced me to the situation is mine and Nick's coach from summer ball.
Okay.
So I played with Nick and Cronenworth back in the day, and that same guy I've stuck with. He's been a great mentor. I talk to him all the time, and he actually kind of introduced me and got me into part of this job. So
Okay.
it's pretty funny that, kind of like I said,
Small circle.
how it all ties in together at the end. And so the restoration side, called Puro Clean. So yeah, definitely new field for me, but excited about it and learning and everything. So
Tell me what they do.
restoration, reconstruction, mitigation, obviously any problems.
So a lot of these floods, I mean,
Yeah.
you tend to see trucks around of any area.
Yep.
Somebody has a broken pipe and it doesn't get found for 48 hours and they got 6 inches of water in the basement.
You call us. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Same thing, tree through the house. I mean, anything you could think of, anything that's destructive to you or your property, water, fire, mold. So not the same as making jerseys, but
It's like anything else. There's
yeah.
plenty of opportunity out
Right,
there. Where's
exactly.
the company headquartered?
Troy.
Okay.
Yep.
So is it a local owned company then?
Yeah, it's kind of. There's the owner owns four different offices.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
yeah.
So then you get hooked up with Nick Black and his. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so I had I was living with my parents, and then I finally bought my first house, which is actually up the road at right across the street from the high school. I was coaching at Lancers North. I coached there for 2 years, and I just sent Nick a picture because I knew he was coaching there, and I'm like, man, I can see your field from my front yard. And that was the day I moved in, and he called me, and he was like, just come coach for me. And I'm like, I said, yeah, I don't really want, maybe next year when I get settled.
Sure.
And had a little more conversation. And I was like, all right, well, I'll see you next year then. And then he put me in a group chat with the coaches, which baseball was, I think workouts were starting. He's like, all right, this is what you guys got. And I'm like, I thought I was going next year. Talk about next year.
Okay.
And he was, so we ended up right then and there, I joined right then. So,
Okay.
yeah, funny how it worked out, but I played with Nick for multiple years and then against him as well. So we were in the same district. Every time we went to, districts in baseball, it was
Right.
always us against them or Dakota as well. So, yeah.
The last handful of interviews have been with Nick and Mike and these people, and what I find interesting is that it's different today than even when you were in high school
Oh, yeah.
or even 10 years before that. It used to be, he's the enemy,
Yeah,
right?
right.
I mean, it used to be, and
Right.
you didn't cross the lines
Right,
almost.
yeah.
Nowadays, because of the travel ball being so heavy,
Yeah.
you've got context, Nick went to Anchor Bay.
Yep.
You went to a school that is only, 6 miles
Yeah.
away, 5 miles
Big
away.
rivals, yep.
Yeah, and yet you play summer ball together, these things, and that's where your friendship, starts and cultivates and goes from there.
Yeah.
So you're an assistant coach for varsity, is that correct?
Yeah.
Do I call you a bench coach?
Yeah, I mean, I deal with the pitchers in infield.
Yeah.
But yeah, I also coach third when
Okay.
we're out hitting. So he gives me a lot of responsibility, and I appreciate that, and take it wholeheartedly. So, but yeah, something like that.
Okay. So you were a pitcher in high school?
Yeah,
College too?
I played third.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. You kind of had to make a choice, right?
Right.
And I had messed up my AC joint my senior year, and it just never bounced back the same. I could have been a junk baller in college, but I figured I'd rather just,
Right.
stay at third and try to make my way that way.
So as a pitching coach, you have any other pitching coaches on the staff?
Yeah. Terrell, he's part of the JV staff. He's a great guy. I love the guy. I love working with him. Typically, our practices are together. So me and John will be with the pitchers, and I also have our infield part as well. So I might get pushed over to infield sometimes, and he'll just take over pitching. But yeah, so on game days, I'll handle the pitchers, and infield, John, we play the same days.
Let's break this down a little bit because people watch baseball, and I don't think, like almost any sport, they don't really know the inner workings of what goes on in
Right.
these games or whatever. So, it's also like everything evolves. Pitching today is different than it was 20, 30, 40 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
So, on a high school team, is there a preferred number of pitches that you sort of have targeted for each one of your pitchers, or do you
Yeah.
tend to be about the same?
It differs. Everybody, the ramp up, obviously, when we start in April, it could be 30 degrees, 40
Yeah.
degrees, it could be 65. We're not going to run a guy out there and throw 100 pitches.
Right.
So we kind of have a workup system to where we want to make sure everyone's healthy and their arms are good by the time we get to the end of
Districts.
May in districts, early June, where we could trust them to go 100. I believe the max you could start a batter at 104. I think
Okay.
105 is the max. But we rarely get to that 100 number. We don't find it necessary.
So a pitcher in high school, if you were breaking it down, say innings pitched, is a starting pitcher getting much more than 3 innings?
Yeah, ideally, yeah.
Okay.
In the beginning, no, not with us. We won't. Like I said, we're not going to run you out for more than 40, 50
Okay.
when we get rolling. But by the time we get into league play in middle of May, we'll let you go 70, 80. But we're hoping that you can get us 4, 5, 6 innings every time you go out. So
In a perfect world, let's say, it's May, weather's good,
Yep.
you're into it, they're pretty seasoned, their arms are good. Are you looking to have a game with 2 pitchers, 3 pitchers?
Ideally, I'd like to have it with 1. Have them run out there for
Yeah.
all 7, keep the pitch count down. Usually we like to bounce between 2, keep it fresh, but if the guy's rolling, we're not taking
Let
him
him
out.
go.
Yeah, we're not going to take him out.
If you were guessing, not getting into exact stats, during a season, how many complete games would you have? Couple? Handful?
Yeah, a handful. Like I said, it's different even from when I played. I never came out when I threw. I think I'd have 7, 8 starts. I would have 6, 7 complete games.
Okay.
So it's a little different. Kids are throwing harder, but they're also have more of a build-up where they start now for May, right? They had their summer ball season. Now
Right.
they got kind of their time off right now, football season, if they don't play football or if they do, and then kind of start ramping back up November, December for
Okay.
March, April, May.
So let's talk about the mechanics of high school baseball. You got a fastball, you got a curveball. You got a sinker. Explain what a sinker is. I mean, obviously, it goes down, right?
Yeah.
Now, a slider goes the opposite way. So if I'm a right-handed pitcher, I'm going to break going left.
Yeah, essentially a faster curveball for the most part. It's going to have kind of that same downward and out spin. Obviously, curveball is over the top, kind of more of a 12 to 6, they call it, up and down. Slider's going to kind of cut across into the opposite batter's box, so ideally.
And in high school, how many kids will master 4 pitches?
Not a lot.
Or 5 even.
Yeah.
I guess you go change up too,
Yeah,
right?
not a lot. It's one thing I've been trying to implement with guys that have 2 good pitches, maybe 3. It's the more you can keep people off balance, the better it is for you. If you have 4 pitches that you can use, they don't know what you're going to throw. That's a lot of thinking for the batter, and they don't need to be thinking. It's already hard enough to get on base 3 out of 10 times. So I've been trying to work with the guys a lot and develop another. Because 2, just when you have 2, it doesn't really get it done. You need to keep them off balance. So yeah, it's something we've been working on for sure.
Okay. I saw a reel the other day on Facebook with reels, and I saw a Pete Rose talking to batters, and it just stuck in my mind as we're talking here. His comment to batters was, and you can tell me, but his comment to batters was, I always prepare myself for a fastball. Anything different than a fastball, I've got time to react.
Right. Yeah, I mean, a little different for those guys.
Right.
They're a lot better and stuff's coming in faster. But no, same thing. You always said fastball. But if you could change the viewpoint in the spin and what the ball's doing, it's essentially a win for the pitcher when they start guessing. Especially if you really learn how to pitch backwards, they call it. Don't just start with fastball. We're going to start change up, then slider, and then maybe a high fastball, just to change the viewpoint. So yeah, when you're pitching, you want to be able to make them feel as much off balance as possible, and keep them guessing. You never want to kind of stay the same with everything or same pitch location or kind of, hey, with 2 strikes, he automatically goes curveball. You never want anything like that.
So going from, say, college back to high school, obviously the speed is somewhat different, right?
Yeah.
Location's different, probably because the older you get, the more, and the better you get, the more precise you are.
Right.
Have you watched much like pros in person at all?
Yeah. Definitely been to my fair share of professional games, AAA games in Toledo. We used to go a ton. And then even me, like growing up, like I said, I got to play with Crony, plays for the Padres, Ant pitches for the Yankees. We didn't really appreciate it until
at the time,
now.
right?
Yeah, until now, just how different they were and how really different they came to the game and addressed the game and everything. Yeah, no, it's crazy. That's for sure.
Well, it's like I don't watch a lot of pro baseball, but when I do, I say to myself, how can a human even hit those?
Yeah.
I mean,
It's insane.
like I don't know the exact science to it, but these pro pitchers are like they have the location down to
Right.
a millimeter probably.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah, no, it's obviously the more you work at it, the easier muscle memory. That's all it is, muscle memory and repetitiveness. The more you work at it, the easier it's going to come to you. Obviously, there's guys gifted more than others.
Sure.
That's why there's pros and non-pros. But yeah.
And the amazing thing too is you as a coach have to some degree, get not just the physical of how to throw the pitch, but the mental
Yeah.
game from a pitcher, right?
Yep. And that's a big thing. Mental's half of it,
Yeah.
obviously. Not every pitch is going to be called. Umpire, it could be right down the pipe, and umpire called a ball, right? Not every start you're going to go out and dominate, throw a no-hitter, whatever the case is. So mental is a big part of it, and that's another big thing that I stress. You kind of got to have that mentality that you're the best when you go out there.
And just block it out.
Yeah, block
right?
it out. You got to believe that no one's going to beat you. If you pitch with some confidence, it's a lot easier than trying to worry about if I need to throw a strike here. Or, if it's 3-0, let it ride. You got to just stick to your guns, and that's kind of all preparation work, nothing
Right.
you can really do in a game. So.
And the other thing that's interesting about baseball in and of itself is that Evidenced by the Tigers playing Cleveland here a couple weeks ago,
Yeah.
the best reliever in baseball, and once in a while it doesn't go his way, right?
Right. It's very big, and another thing that we kind of stress out a lot is execution. That's if you're called upon to do a job, all you got to do is do it. And it might be hard in some difficult situations or different situations. Baseball's a game of failure, right? You're in the
Right.
Hall of Fame if you succeed 3 out of 10 times.
Yes.
So that's a great thing about this game but you need to be able to learn how to deal with the failure and how to get better from it. And that's one thing we try to stress. And like I said, it might not always hit home because we have, anywhere from 14 to 18-year-old kids. They might not understand that. They want to all bat
Right.
700
Yeah.
and hit 16 home runs, but that
bat
unfortunately,
fourth.
right? And that just might not be the case. But the faster you come into a realization that it's a game of failure and how you deal with the failure and bounce back, you become a lot more successful in it. So
Okay. So you're sitting on the bench, middle of the third inning. You're probably zoned in on what your pitcher's doing.
yeah,
Okay. But then he's done pitching his inning. You got to get off the bench and you got to go coach third.
Yep.
So it's a different mindset.
yeah. Nick's still very heavily into the calls and everything like that. He just likes seeing the game from a different view and not worry about other things that a third base coach has to worry about. So I think that's kind of why he trusts me out there. Haven't made too many wrong calls out there, which is good. So hopefully, I'll stick out there. But yeah, obviously when we're out pitching, basically my eyes don't leave the infield. Whether it's pre-pitch, I'm looking at everybody. Our pitcher's mechanics, see if they're getting sloppy on something. And then, when they come in, I have a quick conversation with them and then out to third and try to get some runs in.
And so what becomes a strategy at that point is get base runners on and advance your base runners.
Right.
How often in a high school game are you seeing, if you've got a base runner in first, how often are you seeing bunt him to second?
I think with us, it's a little more pivotal. We like playing the game true, and if that requires us bunting 4 times in a row, we'll bunt 4 times in a row. Some people, some coaches might not believe in that. We just believe in putting our team in the best situation. So if we bunt and they make an error, we're probably going to bunt again until they get us
Right.
out. Yeah. So it's interesting. I think everybody views it a little different.
Right.
But we'll bunt. We'll maybe hold off on the stealing part if the catcher's got a cannon. We're not going to
Right.
test them. We'll make the third baseman try to make a crazy play to get us out or bunt it down the line.
High school baseball, are you using huddle just like every other sport?
Some type of it. I know there's always videos going and stuff like that. I'm not too deep into the video part of it, but yeah, there's always camcorders.
I would assume that the big thing with that is knowing how good the catcher is
Right.
and how accurate he is going to second.
Yep.
Yeah. Because that changes your whole scope of things.
Yep.
If you know you can run all day on that catcher, then you don't have to bunt.
Right.
Right.
You're
Get him
going
to
all day.
second.
Yep.
You need a single.
Yep. Exactly.
Okay. How many different coaches clinics you go to in a year?
A couple. Just kind of depends. There's some local. There's some that are maybe out of town. It just kind of depends on how it all falls into place really at that time.
And I'm assuming that these clinics are run by very experienced coaches that have been doing this, so that a young guy like you in your 20s
Yeah.
can pick up some more knowledge about information.
Yep. Yeah, no, for sure. And like I said, I've had a lot of connections. That's one thing I am proud of myself on is kind of what I took from me playing so many years and the amount of different people and from different paths that I played with is kind of staying connected with them. So whether it's old coaches, whether it's old players that maybe are having very good success coaching, being able to have those conversations and kind of just talk about the game and their viewpoints and everything like that is very helpful for me. So
Okay, let's talk about football versus baseball. Football, a lot of the game planning is, well, they run an XYZ defense, and when they bring 3 linebackers in, or then you're changing your thing. But in baseball, there isn't so much of that other than maybe a shift.
yeah, there's still scouting, right? We still want to know who we're facing on the mound. We might want to throw somebody that's going to connect well with their pitcher. Or if they're, starting a ton of lefties, maybe we'll throw a lefty. So there's a little bit, definitely not as much as football.
Right.
Football, every little thing
Right.
is every, you got to know every inch of the game
Right.
and the opponent and what they're doing. Baseball, there's still a good amount of it, just not anywhere close to the kind of the football prep. And there's football, you have a whole week to prep.
Right.
Baseball, you maybe have a day if you're lucky, but
Sure.
more often than not, you're just playing the next day. So.
Now, are you using a shift in high school?
Not so much.
Okay.
Good thing in our league we play 3 times a year. You're playing against these guys. Some that have been sophomores. Maybe by the time they're senior, you've seen them. That's gonna be 7th, 8th, 9th time
Right.
that you've seen them, so you kind of know and kind of help adjust players where they go, outfield, infield, scoot over. But not so much like that MLB shifts or anything crazy like that. Just a couple steps, maybe one way or another.
Well, and that is also a thing that they've got so much data
Oh yeah.
that they're probably watching film every night.
Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah. So I think we covered it all. Got a good cross section of your life and where
Yeah.
you started and where you're at. Coaching. Anything you want to add about your coaching going on? We're into the fall. You're going to start your workouts soon.
Yeah. Usually get some winter stuff in, just so the guys could get loose, start getting the swings back, start throwing a little bit. But yeah, it's going to start ramping up here pretty soon, and it's crazy. Next thing you know, it's December, snow's on the ground.
Right.
You blink and it's tryouts, and with us with spring training, it starts pretty much. You have a week and a half before you're playing a game.
Right.
Because then spring break comes in, and then you're playing right when you come back. So, yeah, no, definitely excited for it. We got a good core group coming back this year. They were pretty much all playing as sophomores. We've only had a couple seniors each of the last year, so we're expecting a lot this year. A lot of senior leadership, and this is their last go around because they've been up for a couple years now. So, pretty pumped for this year.
Now you go and play against the Lance Cruz Norths, the Uticas, the Sterling Heights. You must know a fair amount of people down there when you're playing them, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah. Even then, a lot of the coaches are still coaching. That when I played, 12 years ago, something like that, in high school, a lot of them are still coaching. A lot of my contacts that I maybe played with in summer ball, they're still coaching. And then obviously when we played North, that was only 3 years ago for me where I was coaching there. So know a lot of those kids and the coaches over there. So it's always fun to play against them and hopefully get the better of them sometimes. But coaching, I really enjoy the whole coaching aspect. Just giving back to the kids.
And you can impart what you've learned not just through high school, but college and preparation.
Yeah, I've had my fair share of craziness in the sporting world. Like I said, I want to give back. Maybe kids might not see a situation, or maybe they get into a situation that was similar to mine. Kind of give them help, peace of mind, whatever the case is. But like I said, definitely very grateful for the opportunity. Kind of, I live up here now. Moved up here a couple years ago, so. This community is great. Like I said, I always known about it when I was coming up. I almost made the switch, almost came out here, but we decided to kind of keep it in hands and keep everybody at North. But I'm very appreciative of the opportunity to coach in a community like this, and the families, the kids are great. Nick's been great to me, so yeah, I really enjoy it.
Good to hear. One last question. So I'm sure this has happened a few times. You call a timeout, pitcher's up, you got situations, maybe guy first, third, no out, something. I'm sure there are times when you have to dig back into your memory and say, this kid needs a little bit of levity and not talk so serious.
Yeah.
You might ask him a question that just sort of brings him out of the baseball into
Take
just
their head
getting
somewhere
his.
else.
That happen?
Oh yeah. I think every situation and every kid's a little different, so it's going to really depend on what's going on at that exact moment.
Sure.
And that's what being a decent coach is. It's not all about yelling and doing all the crazy stuff that you might hear about or the horror stories. I mean, that's not what we're in. We're in to help the kids succeed the best. Doesn't necessarily have to be a baseball if that's not what it's about. But especially in life and after high school, we want to be able to help these kids take off, and whether that's in a career or whatever. So But yeah, no, to get back to your question, yeah, it just really depends. But yeah, sometimes you just go out there, say a funny joke,
Right.
and walk away, not even answer it.
Right.
Just so he's like, oh, you know, yeah, take his head off. He's like, I don't know what he was talking about, but okay, here we go.
Right.
So yeah, no, for sure.
Get him out of the zone.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, Alec Duffiney, thank you for
Appreciate
Duffiney.
it.
Thanks for coming by. Number 93 is in the books, and if anybody knows somebody interesting like Alec, send them my way. You got the phone number on the screen. Thank you. Thank you to Paul.